Welcome to Let's Talk Macarthur, and today we have a really good guest. I'm really pleased to be doing this because it's the first charity that we've got involved in Let's Talk Macarthur. We are community. Welcome, Paul Mackin.
Thanks for that, Mark. Really appreciate it.
So I didn't know much about We Are Community except through my connection with Leanne, who's involved with We Are Community because we used to work together. And I had a little bit at your website, and I was a bit blown away about how much boots on ground this charity actually is and its relationship. So can you just give us a little bit of history as to where We Are Community all started from?
Yeah, most certainly. So originally I started out a bit over 6 years ago with just the intention of, with the intention of going out to feed people that are homeless, around people doing it tough, basically, but weren't able to secure, a good feed. And so I went out a bit over 6 years ago and did that with some friends down into the city. And that was, that was the initial intention. It was because I'd been previously homeless myself. And wanted to be on the other side of that too, because I knew how hard it was to try to secure good quality food and meals, when I was on the streets. So I wanted to do that in return. And it's sort of from those early days, it's grown from there to where we are today. Probably our website's going through some upgrades at the moment, so it probably doesn't give you a true indication of what we actually do within the community, but yeah, that's where we're at.
So when you start something like that, Paul, what's the process that you actually go through to be able to take an idea and something that really means a lot to you personally to actually put it into action?
Yeah, it means a lot. Look, I never really had that intention to go any further than just that one night back on the 21st of December 2014 was when it all started. But it was, when I was packing up and there was a group of homeless gentlemen come up to ask us when we will be back. And I'd said, look, we're not really coming back. They indicated to me that, that being in the city where we held our first feed was that they can get food, breakfast, lunch and dinner 7 days a week in the city. It's not a hard place to find organisations that provide food. But what got me the most, I think, was the fact that because what we cooked up was all made from scratch and it was fresh. And they just said that they can't get food like that. It's near impossible to get good quality food. And I think that's what tugged on the heartstrings a lot, because I knew that from my days when I was on the streets that it's incredibly tough. And those sort of organisations and the locations where I were homeless that didn't exist. So it was by chance someone be kind enough to be able to give you a bit of money or buy you something to eat. So that's where it originated from, knowing that there was that security wasn't there in around food. Is what kicked it off, and to be where we are today, I guess.
Yeah, it's a wonderful story. So when you started doing that in the city, how long was it before you then expanded that and brought it to the local Macarthur area?
Yeah, Mark, it was probably around about 6 months into it, and we started out with a breakfast service down where we're still at now, and we held a breakfast service on a Saturday morning down at the Sleep Doctor in Campbelltown, and it sort of that's where it all started from, and we realised that and I didn't know, because I hadn't had the experience on that side of it, being previously homeless, is that we had a lot of issues just within our own area. So that's where, I guess we started heading in that direction of, looking at taking care of people that were in our own community, doing it just as tough, if not tougher, because the services that were available to people throughout the Macarthur region were extremely limited to what was available to them in the city.
Yeah, so I have a look at, I'm going through your current website and having a look at what services you normally offer. I'm not too sure, and we'll get into how they're affected at the moment and how people can help. But you do the breakfast that you were just talking about, you do a dinner service, and then you've got the night patrols. So how many people do you service during these night patrols?
Well, currently with our night patrol services, we're servicing in excess of around about 80 people every night.
Oh.
That doesn't mean that that's 80 homeless people, because that's not the figures. But there are people that are homeless, whether they're rough sleeping or they're in temporary accommodation or couch surfing. But there's a lot of people within that list that are made up of those that are just doing it incredibly tough financially as well. And they've got that, that juggle to whether or not they're paying the rent or putting food on the table. So, we want to encourage people to keep that roof over their head. So, and we'll certainly help you putting food on the table through your tough times.
Yeah, which is wonderful. So with 80 people, and that's probably only scratching the surface of some of the issues and problems that are out there. How do these people get to find out about you? How do they know that the service exists?
Yeah, look, there's a few different ways. There's a lot of organisations and agencies that we certainly work with in varying levels, and certainly the word is spread that way. There is a sheet that's been created by council, I believe, and that gives a list of organisations that provide different levels of service around hampers and food and other types of services available to people. The word of mouth is a big thing. We find that that's pretty powerful. And then obviously anyone that's got access to social media, they generally people find us that way as well. So there's some varying degrees, variations on how people can find about We Are Community and what we do within the area.
So how many volunteers involved?
At the moment, we've got 60 volunteers that are registered with the charity that are working either, they vary from people that are doing things on a daily basis, weekly, fortnightly and monthly, based on, I guess, everyone's availability, of course. So, so that's how many we've got involved at this stage.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. I love the quote that you've got on the website from C.S. Lewis, which is, "Hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny."
Yeah.
And I think people that are volunteers doing things like this are a living example of exactly what C.S. Lewis was talking about there. And I take my hat off to all of them to be able to extract themselves from their normal daily lives and daily pressures. I mean, you've got a job. What do you do?
Yeah, I'm a truck driver. So,
how many hours a day are you spending driving a truck?
Roughly 10 hours a day.
Yeah, 10 hours a day, and you've got a family?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So they take up a bit of time.
Yeah.
So how much time then is involved in running the charity or organising things, or all of the aspects that go into running a business, which is essentially what the charity is.
Yeah.
But not for profit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, equally as much time I'm, between myself and the rest of the team, we're certainly putting in a big week every week. And but I mean, personally, I'm putting somewhere between 30 and 40 hours a week into the charity, either remotely through whilst I'm at work, and I get that opportunity to make phone calls or do emails and bits and pieces, and then otherwise, there's a lot of hands-on involved after hours and also over the weekend. But the whole team who have variations on days that they're available are also putting in equally as many hours as well, just ensuring that the day-to-day operations go smoothly.
So how do you then ensure that what is happening for yourself in your own personal life, while you're being so involved with everybody else through the charity, how do you find that time then to make sure that Paul and his family are still being well catered for as well?
Yeah, look, it is it's certainly a very tricky balance, and can be obviously challenging, sometimes. But yeah, look, I think it gets to a situation where, and I have been caught doing it before, is where you get so involved that, next, you're running into, 9, 10 o'clocks at night, and, you're 7 days a week, and you do have to draw the line, because you've got to put that line in the sand and say, right, Sunday be the case or something like that, I'm off the air, and, I've got to make sure I dedicate that time to my family, because that's equally as important. My wife works as well, and she works full time, and amongst other things, and is involved as well with the charity. But we need to make that, and I make sure that I talk to the team members about that as well, about the giving their time. That's important, that they ensure that they got to have their time, or their time for their family, or whatever the case may be, because it can burn people out. It really can, when you're working, whether you're working casual, part-time, full-time, and then putting in those extra hours on top with the charity, whilst, all the intentions are good. It burns people out. So you've really got to make sure that you stay on top of it, because otherwise it can create issues as well.
Yeah, and parameters are so important to have. So I'm really pleased to hear that you encourage the rest of your volunteers and team members to do exactly the same thing. And a lot of that comes from experience and learning sometimes the things that haven't worked right, and setting it up. So the more of that you can pass on to other people is ultra valuable.
Oh, 100%.
What are your biggest challenges in doing all this, Paul?
Look, I think at the moment, the challenges we've got is the restrictions around COVID at the moment. They're probably our biggest, but it's like any business when you're managing a team. It's nothing different to, when you're employing people to volunteers. People are going to need time off for various reasons and so forth. And I guess it's a little bit different, obviously, in how you handle that compared to running a business. But at the end of the day, we've got to be very mindful that everyone's got things going on in life, and whether it be family or sickness, or whatever the case may be. But probably our biggest challenges at the moment are with the new COVID restrictions around people entering LGAs, and making sure that they're vaccinated, or if they're not vaccinated, can they do the work that we need them to do as a volunteer. So that offers that's probably been the most challenging times throughout these current COVID restrictions.
Yeah, and now in normal times, your supply of food and ingredients and that sort of stuff, where do you generally source it from?
Look, we've been reasonably lucky. We've got a very good supporting community. So initially all our money comes in privately. We're privately funded by some amazing businesses, and we're able to source some of the ingredients through that. Over and above that, we've got individuals and businesses who are also making donations, whether they're donations in kind or some odd financial donations here and there. And then we're also do a lot of food rescue, and we've got half a dozen stores in and around the Macarthur area with Woolworths that we pick up from, and use a lot of those ingredients to go towards making hampers that we hand out to the people that we're servicing, or used for ingredients to make meals with.
Yeah, awesome. It's great that local businesses are supporting and getting involved like that. Just the same with all these other services that you're interconnected with, because I noticed on the website you're connected with Orange Sky Laundry. I think that's fascinating. You offer a shower service with toiletries and that sort of stuff as well in normal times. Connected with Argyle Housing. Big Yellow Umbrella, isn't it? I think that you're involved with as well.
Yeah, that's correct. Got a good working relationship with those guys. We've also got businesses that provide services, which is important to us as well. So whilst at the moment we've got a few of those guys that aren't able to operate due to the COVID, one of the other ones is also Just Cuts at Macarthur Square for Joanne and her team. They come down and give free haircuts on the first Sunday of every month when we do the roast dinner service. Those girls have been standing on their feet all day, and then they come down and do another 3 hours,
Wow, that's awesome.
and give out free haircuts to those just doing it really tough. And they're amazing. So, services like them and Orange Sky Laundry and stuff like that, it's just great to have those connections, because when you're running, be a breakfast service or a dinner service or whatever, it's more than just a haircut. It's more than just a feed or another organisation we're connected with is Thread Together, who provide new clothes, socks, underwears and shoes and stuff like that. But it's great because the fact that when you bring it all together, it gives us that opportunity for people to be able to sit down, have some time to be able to sit and talk with other people and create good, positive conversation. And that's I think most important. They're the toughest things that we're also facing at the moment, due to the fact that everything still operates for us, but everything's takeaway. So, and under the new COVID restrictions and laws, all we can do is provide a meal, and then we have to send people on their way. We're not allowed to obviously stand around and have a conversation, and it's really tough on a lot of people.
Yeah, it loses that those positive mental health aspects of everything else. I guess for a lot of people, getting involved in doing that, it would make them feel normal, adjusted for a period of time with whatever issues that they're facing for the situation that they're in. What ways can people in the community get involved and help We Are Community?
Look, there's many ways, but I guess looking at probably the three main ways is we'd love for people to be involved. And I want to highlight on the fact that when we talk about volunteer, our charity is 100% volunteer based. So, and I'm absolutely adamant at trying to keep it like that for as long as we possibly can. So that includes the board, everybody. So that's important. So whilst we're a not-for-profit, we're also 100% volunteer based. And I emphasize on that is because a lot of people are concerned in making financial donations and thinking how much of that is then going back to paying wages, salaries or commissions. That doesn't happen with We Are Community. So I guess the first way someone can get involved is if they're in a situation to make a regular weekly, fortnightly or monthly donation, or just a one-off of any amount would be absolutely fantastic, and they can do that through our website. It's going through some upgrades around the donation amounts at the moment, but you can still make a donation through that. It goes through PayPal, or we're more than happy to send our bank account details if people would prefer to do that, because there is a very slight fee with PayPal for their donation platform. Above that, if people are not comfortable in making donations financially and would like to donate in kind, there's groceries are huge, of any type of pantry item groceries, or we can obviously give them some details. We can get some details of a family that needs direct, and we can make sure that we can order some groceries and it can just go to the family direct, or the individual couple, or whatever it may be. But and then the other way is a volunteer. We operate 7 days a week pretty much. There's variances. We don't only just run night patrols, but we've got services, work that needs to be done during the day of varying types, and also over the weekend. So if people can't donate but they want to donate their time, that'd be fantastic as well.
Yeah, it's valuable, isn't it? I'm just going to change it up a little bit. So I'm going to ask you some personal questions, Paul. All right, you ready for this?
Okay.
All right. So, because you've obviously got some history in your life. You said before you were homeless for a period of time, and now you're doing this wonderful work. During all that period of time, who has been your greatest inspiration?
I'd probably have to say my greatest inspiration's been my dad. And look, my dad's my stepdad, but he's been around since I was 4. And whilst I had that disconnect for quite a few years, he has taught me a lot. I have to say that, for a man, any man or woman come along and then pick up, where, somebody let go and then, take me on and sort of under his wing side, so to speak. But yeah, I'd have to say my father, he's my greatest inspiration. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's funny how common it is that people refer back to their dads or their stepdads, their father figure or mother figure, and the inspiration they've had on them. And I think that's a wonderful thing, because it shows that family connection and the importance it is for kids and young adults to have that connection to their mothers and fathers, because they're the leaders in their lives, which is great. And when they don't have that, then it needs to be replaced by something else. So
that's right.
Yep. Do you have a book that has inspired you? Could be a movie.
Yeah, look, I don't really know, to be honest. I mean, if I'd have to say that, I'd probably say that one of my inspirations around books would be, probably, having a think about it, would have to be a local author by the name of Glenn Cossa.
And what's the subject matter in the book?
It's big. One of the books that I've got is Fear to Gratitude, and it's about affirmations to build a positive future, eliminate those negative thoughts, and so Glenn is not only an author, but he's a life coach, and he's also involved in counselling through Lifeline. Amazing man, and somebody that you should certainly be talking to at some point down the track. But absolutely amazing, and very, very inspirational as well. So he's certainly been there for me through a lot of my challenges as well.
That's good. And maybe you can connect us at some point. That would be fantastic. So on the subject of books, if you were to write a book about yourself, what would you call it?
Geez, that's a good one. Yeah, look, I've never thought of that, to be honest, Mark. I just
it's thinking time now.
Yeah, absolutely it is. So I don't know, but I'd probably
maybe your wife can name it for you.
Yeah, I don't know if we can publish that then. If she was to name the book for me. So, but no, I really don't know. You got me on a curly one there, but I'm sure it'd be an interesting read regardless.
I'm sure it would be. Probably one that I'd love to read. If you could step into my shoes, if you were doing the interview, what's something that you would have asked yourself that I haven't?
You're asking all the good ones, aren't you, Mark? So I'd probably say, where do I see myself with the charity in 5 years?
Hey, Paul, where do you see yourself or the charity in 5 years?
Look, I'm very invested in our charity. So for the charity, I'd like to think that We Are Community will be an organisation that can help many people in and around a greater area than what we're already doing now. So we're working closely with Argyle Housing in looking at expanding our services right across the state. And we are already doing that by sending a lot of hampers through Argyle Housing, which are slowly being directed into regional centres. And we're looking at obviously expanding those services. Where I see myself is that I'd like to think that I could find somebody that would be philanthropic to perhaps pay me a a wage to be able to do this full time, because I would not like for it to come from the charity, but I'd love for somebody to believe in what I do, and see the work firsthand, and believe that what we are doing has a positive effect, and has a change on people's lives in a good direction, and could see that be a really smart investment to be able to have me run the charity full time.
That's an awesome goal, and I hope somebody listening or somewhere along the way can actually find that connection for you, because I think what you and your volunteers do, and that's what I said at the start, it's boots on ground, and there's just not enough boots on ground sometimes. I think the network of people that you've got involved and how it's structured is wonderful. I'd certainly like to come and witness it firsthand when I'm allowed to get into the Campbelltown LGA.
Yeah, that'd be great.
which would be really good. One thing I do enjoy though is because I am connected through your socials, getting to keep doing the videos. The videos are great. Shows the reality of what they're doing, especially at the house on Riverside, and shows the human element of everything you do. It's funny how we can talk about things, and talk about things is good because it gives things a bit of profile. But until you actually see it with your own eyes or get involved in it, do you really realise the ramifications or the expanse of what is happening and what is needed.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We've got some incredible volunteers, mate. I simply just work with the team of people that steer the ship. There's our team. There's a lot of people on that team that have got some amazing stories, have been some pretty tragic places in their life, but volunteering with We Are Community has certainly turned that around. From a young lady that manages our breakfast service on a Saturday morning, who's had some incredible challenges, to board members that have been on the other end of having to receive help and gone from they've really had a shit life, to be honest, mate. They've done it extremely tough, and they've head down and backside up, and they've wanted to turn their lives around away from the drugs, the crime and everything. And I mean, today they're board members, and it's just amazing. There's some incredible stories out there, and I'm so proud to have them as friends, and also work with an amazing team of people that are just so invested in making sure we can help other people change their lives as well.
You better start documenting it all, Paul. So it sounds like it's going to be a pretty good book by the time you finished it, right?
Yeah.
With a long way to go, so which is fantastic. I finish every interview with the same 10 questions, right? So I don't know if you've heard any of them yet, but James Lipton from the Inside the Actor Studio used to use these on Al Pacino and Robert Redford and people like that he used to interview. So Paul Mackin, different. Number one, what is your favourite word?
Bugger.
Bugger. Do you know there was a Toyota ad that used to have the bugger dog in it? It was banned in New Zealand.
Yep.
Yep, not allowed to use it there. What is your least favourite word?
Oh, hate.
It's mine too. It's too strong a word.
Yeah.
What turns you on?
I don't know. Might be a weird way to answer it, but just to see that we're helping people and we can make a change in their lives, mate. That's, in a weird sort of way, I guess that's what makes me happy. That what brings a lot of joy to me, mate. Yeah. Yep.
That's not weird, mate. It makes perfect sense. Yep. What turns you off?
People with bad attitudes, people that, have a one-track mind. That really does. We do come across that on, our lives day to day, sometimes, or week to week. And I think people that are just, too opinionated and also, can't see that, everyone's got an opinion and everyone's entitled to that. So I think that's what turns me off, mate.
Okay. What sound or noise do you love?
Music.
Yeah, I love it. What sound or noise do you hate?
Sound or noise do I hate? Snoring.
So you don't listen to yourself?
No.
What is your favourite curse word?
Curse word.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, well, it'll have to be fuck.
It's in the top 80%, I think. What profession other than your own would you love to attempt?
I'd probably like one of the things that I've always wanted to do is probably be in the Navy. I know my grandparents, my grandfather was in the Navy, and yeah, I would have loved to be in the Navy myself. Yeah.
So if you're in the Navy, I'm going to unpack that a little bit. So if you're in the Navy, what role would you like to have had in the Navy?
As a SEAL.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What profession would you not like to do?
What profession would I not like to do? Probably wouldn't want to be an ambulance officer. I take my hat off to those guys. They're absolutely amazing, but I'm not good with open wounds and bits and pieces. So yeah, but I certainly take my hats off to those guys. So yeah, probably wouldn't want to be an ambulance officer.
Yeah, I've got an old schoolmate of mine who trained as a paramedic, and he was operating in that Cabramatta Fairfield area.
Yeah, right.
Got a transfer to Moree, which was a tough gig, but he said Cabramatta Fairfield was tougher than Moree. So
I believe that.
Yep. Last one. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Come on in and here's a six-pack.
Yeah. What flavour is the six-pack?
I'd have to be, look, I'm a type 2 diabetic, mate, so I've had a bit of a learning curve of recent times and have to behave myself. And but I'd probably have to say it'd have to be wild turkey, mate.
Love it. I'm a whiskey drinker myself, so don't mind a bit of that.
Yeah.
Don't mind. Paul Mackin, thank you very much. How can people get connected with We Are Community?
Look us up on our socials. So we're on Facebook under We Are Community Incorporated, on Instagram. Even got a little TikTok account going now. So
hey, are you dancing on
that? Oh, you don't want to see that, mate. Yeah, the TikTok would take it down, I think. Yeah, they can do that through our website, of course. We Are Community Incorporated on that. I think we're just wearecommunity.org.au. And there's you can email us or give me a call or whatever. So yeah, by all means, we'd certainly love for people to reach out in any way. And even if there's people watching this that are doing it tough, please don't hesitate to call us. Don't be embarrassed and don't think that there's people out there doing it worse, because probably there is, but doesn't mean that what you're going through doesn't matter. It does matter. And if you're doing it tough or you're struggling, don't hesitate to get in contact, because we want to help you.
Yeah, which is fantastic. So just remember that, and there's other avenues for people to contact too, like Lifeline, Beyond Blue, etc.
Absolutely.
None of this would be possible with Let's Talk Macarthur. It really is a passion of mine to get voices out to the Macarthur community, like We Are Communities. None of it would be possible without our partners. So we've got our partners are Coleman Greig Lawyers, Fitzpatrick Robinson Group, Accountants and Business Advisory, Richardson and Wrench, Annan, and Narellan, of course, Wakeling Automotive Group, Scott Wakeling, been fantastic, and TechnoFunc Fitness Studios for health and well-being. Paul, I thank you very, very much. Wish you all the best in this next part of the year. We're about to come into spring, and as we come out of lockdown, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of activity going on.
Absolutely. I really appreciate your time this afternoon, Mark, and thanks for letting me be a guest on Let's Talk Macarthur.
Thanks, Paul. See you later.
See you, mate.
Okay, bye.